Nearly 2 weeks into England's lockdown, MPs have demanded to know what's going to happen when it officially ends on December the 2nd. Scientists have been warning that stronger restrictions may well be needed, although the Health Secretary would not be drawn on that issue today. The Office for National Statistics has just reported the highest number of weekly deaths involving COVID-19 since the middle of May. Our health and social care editor, Victoria MacDonald, is in the newsroom. These are pretty devastating figures, Victoria. What do they say about the impact of the current lockdown?
Well, this is the 9th consecutive week that there has been an increase in the number of deaths, and the 2nd consecutive week where it's gone over that 1,000 mark. Now, you have to remember that deaths are a lag. They're from infections 3-4 weeks ago sometimes. And so it doesn't tell us much about England's lockdown measures at this stage. And this was a point, actually, that the Health and Social Care Secretary, Matt Hancock, made in Parliament today. He said that we don't yet have the data to show how lockdown is working for England. But he was actually asked about what's going to happen on December the 2nd when we have to come out of that lockdown, other than going back to Parliament and asking for an extension. And he said, well, the data isn't there. But he was then asked about the tier system that we were in before. And he said that he would look at putting us into tiers in districts rather than in counties. It's 38 days until Christmas, and I think a lot of people are worrying about what might happen, and the government as well. But also, we're seeing infection rates changing across the nation. Hull, for instance, has now got the highest numbers. And yesterday, the council asked the central government, appeal to them for some help. And there have been very strong calls today to actually close their schools.
And Victoria, we understand that the development of the Moderna vaccine, which was obviously announced with incredible results yesterday, was in part supported by a country music icon. What do you know?
This is a beautiful story. Dolly Parton donated $1 million to help fund the Moderna vaccine trials. This was at the Vanderbilt Institute in Tennessee. It was through the Dolly Parton COVID-19 Research Fund, and it has led to the most marvellous headline, Dolly Parton cures coronavirus.
Victoria MacDonald. Well, joining us now is Professor Catherine O'Brien, who heads up the World Health Organization's Department for Immunization, Vaccines and Biologicals. Thank you for joining us, Professor O'Brien. As rich nations spend millions on pre-booked vaccine supplies, what is WHO doing to ensure that poorer countries don't lose out altogether?
You know, no country is going to be safe until every country is safe. And it's both the right thing to do and the smart thing to do from a science and a public health perspective to assure that some people in all countries are going to be vaccinated at the earliest possible phase compared with trying to vaccinate everybody in some countries. What WHO is doing...
Who will ensure that?
Well, what we're committed to is a global mechanism to actually procure vaccines and to allocate them based on principles of fairness and equity. And that's called the COVAX facility, which we're part of organizing and running.
Now, Joe Biden has announced that day one of his administration, the US will rejoin WHO. What effect will that have?
You know, the U.S. has been a partner of WHO's, a close partner of WHO's, and a member of WHO since its inception. We have close partnerships with U.S. institutions and U.S. staff in WHO. So clearly, the scientific skill, ingenuity of the U.S. is key to WHO. The work that we do, and really welcome the partnership and engagement of the U.S. in any form.
Well, these vaccines have been produced in record time, and there are people, obviously, who are very concerned that possibly corners have been cut in actually sanctifying their usage.
totally understandable that people would want to know how it's possible for vaccines to be produced with such record time. There's absolutely no compromising on the high safety standards that are in place and the review of data and evidence before any vaccine would be authorized for use. This is firm and uncompromising. This is something that both the European medicines agencies, the US FDA, and WHO's authorization processes have been absolutely clear on.
Professor O'Brien, I'm very grateful to you for joining us. Thank you.